What is going on? What is going on? It's your boy, Julien Stoutt, the best personal trainer you never heard of. Here to take the fear out of fitness. We're about to take off and class is in session. Well, today is November 5th, 2025. Shout out to my homie. It's his birthday today. I'm not going to say his name out of, respect for his privacy, but I will, if he is watching at this moment, he knows I'm talking about him. Well, when I was a kid, let's start with early childhood, right? I was happy. I was very emotional, to say the least, right? And in that emotion, I would cry at the drop of a hat. If you poked me, if you poked me in a way I didn't like, cry at the drop of a hat. If I was happy, I smiled. If I was angry, I frowned. If I was sad or if I was hurt, I'd cry. Expressing my emotions was not very difficult for me as a child. But as I got older, the ridicule of wearing your feelings on your sleeve hardened me, especially living in the hood that we know as the South Bronx. So over time, especially being of a shorter and smaller stature, over time, I began to harden, so to speak. I didn't express my emotions. I talked about how I felt, like I am right now, but shout out, homie. Hey, so do you mind if I shout you out by name, or do you want me to keep it on the wraps? You know what I mean? Because I will be more than happy to shout you out. It's not my place to do that. So if I have your permission, I will shout you out by name if you want me to. So, with that being said, going back into this conversation, I began to realize that life was not going to be nice to men, especially me, if I wore my feelings on my sleeves. So my homie Jake, shout out to you. So, shout out to you. It's your birthday today. I appreciate you. Jake, for those of y'all who are interested in knowing, Jake and I go back, it's 2025. So we go back at least 20 years. So, yeah. No, not 20. Yeah, 20. Yeah, 2005. So, dang, it's been 20 years since we graduated college, man. Good Lord. That's crazy. But anyway, with that being said, no, about 2005, buddy. I started at CSU Pueblo in 2005. A little more than 20. We're about to hit 26 if I'm 21 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So with that being said, the notion that I got to wear my feelings on my sleeve eroded quickly. And in the hood, they don't respect people who cry a lot. Yeah, but I started in January of 05. So I met you in January of 05, in January or February of 05. Once we, you know, I met John first. No. I met Ahmad first because meeting Ahmad, played Ahmad. Then I met Brian. And after I met Brian, I met you. No, I met John. And then I met you. So it was in that order, you know, because, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is what linked us together. So, you know, and by the way, it's getting interesting and you might want to take a look at that. The Genesis format, for those of y'all who are interested in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Genesis format, Genesis format is pretty nice. If you're interested, I'd check it out if I were you, especially if you are still in possession of your entire collection. It is going to be fun for you. So off subject real fast, you could play 3-pot of greeds if you're gangster enough to build a deck based on the new rules for the Genesis format. But that's a whole nother thing. Anyway, the hardening of my spirit, although it was not solidified to such a diamond density, I can still feel and I still relate to people's emotions and I still empathize. I didn't exactly emote the feelings that I truly felt as I felt them. And it comes down to the topic of anger. Since I was roughly, honestly, if I'm going to be straight up honest with y'all, if I could tell you, I'd tell you 11 was when anger started to, you know, encase me some. But then officially around, I'd say about 13 is when anger really set in, because I started to realize my inadequacies, and my inadequacies at the time could not be fulfilled without A, information, and B, a source of that information. And at that time, I was lost. I was lost in such a way that I didn't know what was up from what was down. I tried to prove my masculinity because a lot of times I was being accused, and this is where no offense to the LGBTQ community, because I am so loquacious, because I'm so in tuned with myself and in certain ways, and it's because I can express myself with words, I was being accused of being gay. Now, like I said, I am not anti-LGBTQ, but if you're being identified as somebody that you're not, it kind of gets offensive, right? It'll be no different than you being gay and being told you're straight. It is highly offensive. It is just that. It's offensive because people are claiming you're something that you're not, and you know who you are, right? And with that being said, every moment of every day I spent proving to my chagrin I was less intelligent than I really was. 2, that I was more masculine than I needed to prove myself to be, because what is masculinity in of itself? And last but not least, that I'm not gay, right? And instead of me just focusing on developing myself as the man I wanted to be, I started to try to create the man I thought I needed to be in front of other people, which then begot more anger because I knew it wasn't me for the most part. But at the same time, I still had me in there. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't creating a whole different character. But what I did is I did what a good professional wrestler does. And most professional wrestlers in current era, not in the old school golden era, but in the attitude and the current era, what most professional wrestlers do is take parts of themselves and creates an energy around that personality and then amplify it 10 times over. Now, if you knew me my freshman year, even my sophomore year, you could see through it. Especially if you were older, you could see through it. I was very animated. I was very hype. I was very animated. I was a ball of energy, let's put it that way. And within that, the naivete that existed within me still leaked out. So there was no real major performance. It wasn't like I was performing to be extra tough. That wasn't what it was. I wasn't extra tough. I wasn't trying to be a hard rock, because you also got called out for being something you weren't, right? But at the same time, I didn't allow people to get to the fullest extent of my sensitivities. And by doing so, I ended up just being angry. I didn't have my father in the house. My family's dynamics was different. Even though it wasn't different from many other kids in my neighborhood, it wasn't different from many other kids that I knew, it was still different from the life that I grew up knowing, whether it be for good or for bad. I then began to, how should I put this? I began to lash out intellectually. I wasn't utilizing my brain the way I should have. I was lashing out by giving subpar effort in my education. I looked to athletics to compensate for that, compensate for the intelligence that I had in the first place. I became highly competitive. Some people would mistake it for the Napoleon complex, but it really wasn't that. I did have it, but it wasn't because I was short, but because I was short on substance. Because if I had been more secure in myself in my teenage years as I am now, I would have no doubt that I would have been able to carry myself the way I do now back then. And then would have probably changed a few things in my trajectory, who knows. But that anger was not being expressed in the most appropriate of ways, and which leads me to the topic subject. So I'm going to share my screen with you, right? So this right here, I want you to hear what this individuals have to say, because this in of itself is big time. Shout out to Be Better, and shout out to Christina Michelle Robertson for posting this on her page.
I would like to point out, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I would like to point out that we constantly tell you guys that anger is a mask. And what he just said on that third thing is that he can't figure out what the emotion is and why the needs aren't being met and be able to express it to their partner. And that's why it comes as rage. And for men, that is our go-to thing. Most men can't tell you why they're angry. They can just tell you that they're feeling a certain way about it, and they don't understand why they're feeling in order to even be able to have the conversation, and it's because we're told to suck it the fuck up.
Well, we can't cry.
Right.
Anger is how we cry.
Ooh, that's good.
Anger is how men cry.
Holy shit.
Anger is how men cry.
And that fucking makes sense.
Yes.
We never correlated that.
We convert our sadness into anger because anger gives us respect and strength and looks the illusion that we have control or power.
You're not called a pussy.
Yeah.
No.
You respect the raging gorilla. Anger is how we cry, though.
There's another clip. That's a lot to process.
You're welcome.
I have never correlated that.
So, when I came across this video, it made me realize the history of who I am And what every moment of rage, every moment of anger, whether it be in my first marriage, after my first marriage, whether it be in things that disappointed me with my children for one attitude or another, I began to realize what my anger really is. It's not that I couldn't express the emotion, right? All of this time, I've realized now that I am expressing the emotion. I'm expressing the emotion through my anger. If my children disappointed me, I couldn't express it as disappointment because I was afraid it would make me seem weak, that I will not have the respect that I'm supposed to command as a parent. That if I didn't express my anger, if I cried because I couldn't save my wife, first or second, in whatever it is that they were wayward in, so to speak, right? And when I say wayward, in one instance, wayward is accurate. In another sense, wayward is accurate in the sense that her health has been wayward, and her health is my concern because as a loving husband, I want her to be with me for all time. But when it comes out, it is not coming out as fear. If you're emotionally intelligent enough to see through the anger, you can attribute it to fear. But are you really relying on someone else's translation to get across what it is that you are truly feeling? Because guess what? If you leave it up for interpretation of other people, they will always get it wrong. Therefore, they will interpret it how they see fit and then have their feelings about you in general. So if I get angry because I'm afraid for your life, as a parent, I spank you. I am now relying on your emotional intelligence to recognize that what I am concerned with was your safety. I am now exposing the reality that as a man, I am leaving my emotional demonstration up for interpretation. And even so, here's the joke. Let's say it does get interpreted as mere anger. After but so long of dealing with one's anger, they begin to ignore it, which then further pisses you off, which then further makes you more angry. Now you have anger, real anger, layered on top of the real emotion that you were feeling to begin with, whether it be frustration, whether it be sadness, disappointment, concern, fear. If you're experiencing all of that, are you man enough to really express the true emotion? Because I'll tell you now, after experiencing, now that doesn't mean you can't get angry, right? I'm not saying that as a man you won't get actual angry, But what I am saying is that is every time you get angry, is that the actual emotion? Or is it a mask for something else? So I'll give you an example. Man comes home, finds his wife cheating on him. He deletes her. Is that, it's in a fit of rage, right? Is it not? It's in a fit of rage. It's not like he calculated, he's planning it. He's like, yeah, I'm going to come home and I'm going to delete my spouse. No. He snapped. However, let's refocus. If you could express the pain of betrayal, not necessarily with rage, not necessarily crying, but you can express it, wouldn't it be better to do that than to delete someone? Can we actually compose ourselves as men to get to the point where we still command the respect as a man while still expressing the emotion that you are truly feeling without turning into a puddle of tears? I hear women, and I'm going to get into this point specifically, I hear women turn around and say, I got the ick because my man cried. His mother died. His father died. His brother died. His homie died. Relative passed away. Close relative passed away. And that significant other gets the ick. For those of y'all who don't know what the ick is that there is a sharp disdain for the individual that they're supposed to be romantically attached to because they are showing and expressing what they consider a weakness. Right? They appear weak to their significant other. So now that they appear weak to their significant other, their sexual attraction for that individual diminishes. Ladies, don't get me wrong. You too can fall victim to this type of anger that men are expressing nowadays. You catch your husband in a compromised position cheating on you. You do the same thing. You start beating on him. Start punching him in the eye, throwing away his stuff, burning his car, burning his clothes, cussing him out, throwing all his stuff out. I'm not saying that the end of your relationship should not be an appropriate consequence if that's what you feel, but all the performative stuff that comes with it is no different than rage from a man. So you're no better. I'm not sitting there saying it as though women are more emotionally intelligent than men, because in truth, I don't think men are less emotionally intelligent. I think in all actuality, I honestly believe men are equally as emotionally intelligent as women. It's just that we are so emotionally intelligent that we are aware that we cannot do certain things to express our emotions without losing respect, without losing fear of oneself. We are fully aware that if we turn around and cry in an inappropriate time, people will lose respect for us. Bro, you crying? You stubbed your toe and you're crying? Man, suck it the hell up and quit your crying, little punk. That's what we're going to say. And I'm cleaning it up for the YouTube airwaves a little bit. But you get what I'm saying. You're not being called a pussy as the podcaster said it, right? You get what I'm saying? Do something real quick. Hold on. Let's do that real quick. Sorry. But anyway, the main thing is that you don't want to be called a puss. That's the end result. Being called a puss is like kryptonite to Superman. So, my homie Jake, thank you, bro. I appreciate you for watching and staying on with me for as long as you did. Do me a favor, also, if you can, if you haven't already, subscribe to the show. But also, I am going to try to pull that up and see what that was like. Because if it is, I'm going to look that up. He's suggesting to me to look up an interview with Arsenio Hall with Macho Man crying. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, Macho Man Randy Savage, whose real name is Randy Poffo, he's been through a lot, dude. As I've learned more about his personal life, how him and Hulk Hogan got beef and had beef, and it was over his ex-wife, Miss Elizabeth, who then went on to have a relationship with another professional wrestler by the name of Lex Luger, who went through some stuff and ended up in jail, and she died, and it's a mess, right? When a man cries, you got to understand that that bottle has been tightly wound for so long that it bursts. And this is it's a long time coming. You can't help but to feel that type of pain. So here's the deal, right? You come on and you try to put on this persona. But like I said, if you're emotionally intelligent enough to see through it, you'll see that they're a scared person. It happens now with girls, especially girls from the hood. You get this attitude. Who is you? Who you talking to? Whoop, 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 whoop. The caricature of a black woman, right? Not that that's who black women are. However, if and when that caricature does come, do we have the emotional intelligence to see it for what it is? Now, in all honesty, nobody wants to put up with that on a long-term basis. What Just like nobody wants to put up with men's rage on a long-term basis either. Nobody wants to deal with that. Right? It goes both ways. This is not an attack on black women. I just want to make sure you understand that. I'm calling me out too. But what I am calling out is when somebody is patient enough to have the emotional intelligence to see through the BS, for those of us who haven't gotten past that, when are you going to become emotionally intelligent enough to know that people are getting tired of it? When are you going to be emotionally intelligent enough to know that you're being seen through like Ziploc bags? The jig is up. Yeah, you might be the one that turns around and pulls a gun. You might be the one that pulls a knife. You might be the one that throws the hands and whoop and be the whooping feet type. But to what end? Right? To what end does that get you? Now, in my journey as a teacher, I have found the way to maintain my masculinity, still maintain the respectability of a man, while still not being a puss. Okay? Now, for me, I can show my displeasure with you, express my displeasure with you, give direction while not necessarily going off the deep end. I don't have to fly off the handle, right? I don't have to lose control of my emotions. However, disrespect will not be tolerated. I'm not going to even play with that, right? You disrespect me, if possible, I will disrespect you in the most diabolical of ways that is still appropriate to maintain my employment. Because you need to understand that disrespect goes both ways, and that disrespect, if you don't like it, don't give it. Sometimes you might deem what I'm doing disrespectful, but when you realize that all I'm doing is following the rules, I'm not being disrespectful, because if you really wanted to see me get disrespectful, you find out real quick what disrespect really looks like coming from me. But maintaining my composure, expressing my anger when it is genuinely anger, expressing frustration when it's frustration, telling you that I'm sad rather than getting angry, telling you that I'm hurt, but I can't get into the dynamics of the situation as it's a private matter. Do you see how I did that? So as a teacher, I teach my students who some have serious emotional dysregulation disabilities. I'm teaching them how to regulate their emotions through example. So if I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this morning, when I come in the door and somebody's annoying me, I'm not going to be jumping down their throat and chewing them out. I'm going to turn around and look at them and go, hey, today's not the day, dude. I'm having a very bad day and I am beyond ticked off. It's not anger at this moment, but it will turn to anger if you keep pushing me. Do I make myself clear? I'm not angry at you, and I'm not going to take my anger out on you because you don't deserve my wrath at this very moment, because you don't know what made me angry and you don't deserve that type of energy. However, upon my warning of you, don't irk my nerves, don't poke the bear, don't irritate me, or else you will feel the full force of my anger. Then that's what it is. Now, that doesn't mean hitting them and all that other stuff. I'm not talking about roach stomping them, but they'll get written up. They'll get their head taken off verbally. The thing is, They don't deserve your anger initially upon seeing you. They don't deserve your anger if they're doing the right things. They don't deserve your anger even if they're just being children for the most part. It's when they are misbehaving and being disrespectful, that's when it's going to come out. The teeth come out. So one of the things that I learned as a teacher is merely about what type of person you are, right? What type of personality do you have? Upon filling out the questionnaire, I found out I'm not who I thought I was, or I am who I thought I was, but over the years, I've masked it so much that I didn't realize that that's not who I was anymore. So you have your shark, you have a turtle, you have a bear, you have a fox, and you have an owl, right? And within those personalities, you can have multiple of them, but shark being the one that will bite you, right? If you do things a certain way. If I work with people, when I work with people, this is how I prefer to work with people as opposed to the other personalities. I'm not a shark when I work with other people. I'm actually quite affable. I'm nice, right? I would actually rather you feel good about the outcome for you than it is to get my needs met by fighting about it, right? If I could come to a situation or a solution that everybody can agree upon is better for everyone as opposed to just for me, that makes me more happy than it would be for me to just get my way, right? However, everybody does shift within the personalities. I have 3 personalities. I'm typically a fox, an owl, and a turtle. I will avoid conflict as much as humanly possible, but if you push me to be in conflict with you, you will sorely regret it. Because when I turn into a shark, it's not a nice one. I'm not taking a limb. I'm just putting it that way. If I turn into a shark, I don't just take a limb. I'm not taking a digit. I'm taking your head. I'm taking both legs. You get what I'm saying? And I know I'm not the only one that has that emotion, that has the capacity to be that. So I'm not making this sound like, in a threatening manner. I'm expressing to you when anger does kick in, or when I am when I am fighting for what I want, I'm taking what I want. The anger manifests itself in the worst way. It's not a quick strike and then it's over. So in that awareness, I'm not quick to anger. But as a matter of fact, true story, as a matter of fact, I think it runs in my family. We get angry over the fact that we are now angry. My brother would be the first one to tell you, be like, I was having a good day until you just pissed me off. Now I'm angry at the fact that you just pissed me off. So now you're about to get the whole brunt of the force. You're not going to get a piece of it. You're going to get all of it. Every micrometer of rage I got right now, I'm putting it all on you, because you are the source of my anger, and I was in a good mood before it. It's the reality, right? So, but teaching has taught me a lot. When you go into the profession of teaching, if you think you know who you are, you don't. You really don't. Or you know yourself well enough, at least for the most part, that you need to know how to manage yourself, because teaching was a part of my DNA for decades. But I knew in my early wisdom that at the age that it was suggested that I be a teacher, I couldn't be a teacher. I didn't have the patience to deal with kids, other teachers, and parents. I didn't. I really didn't. As a matter of fact, in some cases, I still don't. As I'm having the conversation with someone today about being in charge, I don't have the capacity to be in charge of a school or be in a position of power in a school, because I don't tolerate bullcrap. And when I mean I don't tolerate it, I mean that if there's something that I'm being conciliatory on, and you just flat out, once you don't want to take the inch that I'm giving you, you want the mile, it's coming out. I'm just going to tell you what I think of you. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to tell you everything that is in my head at the moment, New York style. And it ain't going to be pretty. I am very diplomatic initially, especially if I'm meeting you on a consensus level, that we are meeting of the minds and we're trying to come to a consensus on what's best for the child and what's best for you as the parent, or what's best for the entire school. I am always in consensus. I'm always amicable, and I'm always conciliatory when necessary. However, if you see that I'm trying to be conciliatory, I'm trying to be amicable, I am trying to negotiate, I'm trying to be restorative, and you just want to be cantankerous, oh my God, you're pissing me off now. Now anger is coming in, and it is not, yes, frustration is a part of it, but it is now genuine anger. It's not that I want to go into the back room and cry. It's not that I want to hide. I'm not ashamed. I'm not fearful of you as the parent, or as whomever it is that I'm dealing with, another teacher or somebody that is in a position of power. I'm not afraid. So therefore, me getting angry is not masking my concern for my employment. My anger is not of concern for the retaliatory nature of a parent. One of the things that makes me most angry is when I'm right, and I warned you that what I'm warning you about, I will be right, and these are the consequences that are going to come of me being right. That if you want to piss me off, do something that I warned you will happen that is of concern to me. Do what I warned you not to do, and let the consequences be what I warned you will be. And you will see anger like you wouldn't believe. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because it is the consequence that I'm trying to actively avoid, for not myself, but for you. But because I care about you, I don't want to see you go through that consequence. If you could avoid that, if we could all avoid that consequence, it will be a great joy. So my homie turned around and said to watch the Arsenio Hall Macho Man interview, and I'm going to get on there and I'm going to watch it.
sir.
I'll sit right here.
Okay, that's
Ooh,
fine with me.
yeah.
Power of power, too sweet to be sour. I'm funky like a monkey. Sky's the limit and space is the place.
Hello.
Check it out. Yeah.
Can we sit now? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, wait a minute. You got
Wait a minute.
Wait. A black boot, a white boot. Oh, you got your belt.
I'm not a racist.
No, I can understand that. I can understand that. You know
Live
what?
and let live, Arsenio, man. Don't put me under the gun so quickly. Yeah,
Well,
go ahead.
no. I was just going to give you a compliment. I'm thinking you're probably the best-dressed man in wrestling.
Well, isn't that something? You know, I just think that I'm the conservative type, you know, like Wall Street, Harvard, Yale, you know what I mean? No big thing. But if I go on a wild date, then I'll dress up, you know what I mean? But this is just kind of a relaxed type atmosphere, I figure.
Okay.
Right?
Now, I called
Right,
you...
yeah.
Please agree with him, because I'm close, okay?
He's in the danger zone.
Yes,
yeah.
indeed. You know, speaking of the danger zone, they told me you wouldn't like this, but...
So you did it anyway.
No, but this is,
Uh-huh.
it's the Ultimate Warrior doll.
Right.
And, is it outselling your doll? Is that
Not
what...
at all.
Oh, okay.
Why do you say that?
No, I just wondered. Somebody, I didn't get the proper information.
Right, you didn't? No.
It's not outselling your doll.
I didn't say that either. I'm just saying that I'm too hot to handle, too cold to hold, and whatever this guy here is, he's going to have to face me at Wembley Stadium in front of 83,000 people, and he's going to get beat, because I'm the champion and he's not. No problem there, yeah.
Can you beat a guy who looks like that?
Yeah, I think I got a size advantage on him right now. He's just a real little guy, you know what I mean? You know?
Ouch!
I apologize.
It's all right. Oh, boy, it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
I called you mean and macho, but TV Guide called you a huge psychotic lizard. What did you think of that?
Those are accusations I haven't totally denied, but it kind of sounds sexual, so I'll roll with it, okay? Yeah.
What kind of kid were you?
Ooh. When I was a macho baby, a lot of people think that I just, like took over, and just said, who's in charge? But that wasn't the way it was at all. You know, I was wild and I was shy at the same time. But I worked hard and I played hard, and I just want to tell all the kids out there, all the macho maniacs, to stay in school and say no to drugs, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
We'll take commercial. We'll be right back with Randy.
Hey, I'm sorry, yeah.
Prince video? Stop that.
Brother, just rolling with the flow. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question about jumping around like that. You gotta get hurt a lot.
Huh. High-risk maneuvers, what's what they are, yeah. But you never admit if you get hurt, yeah. Usually I put more injury on myself than the other guy, but that's okay because I'm stronger than my competition, so that's hip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, your middle name is Macho. But I'm wondering if you ever cry. Has a Macho Man ever cried?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Uh-huh. It's okay for macho men to show every emotion available right there, because I've cried 1,000 times, I'm gonna cry some more. But I've soared with the eagles, and I've slithered with the snakes, and I've been everywhere in between, and I'm gonna tell you something right now. There's one guarantee in life, and that there are no guarantees, yeah. And you gotta understand this. Yeah. Nobody likes a quitter. Nobody said life was easy, so if you get knocked down, take the standing 8 count, get back up, and fight again. And you're a macho maniac. Dig it.
You should have a rap album.
I can handle that.
Now, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to ask it from over here. Okay, there was a
Brave of you, yeah.
Hey, I'm a smart guy.
I'm gonna reach out and touch you.
There was a controversy a while back about steroids, and you just gave some advice to kids to stay away from drugs. Have you ever taken steroids?
Ooh, you hit me with your best shot right there. All the macho maniacs out there, I'll tell you the truth. I've experimented with anabolic steroids before. Yes, I have. And I did it when it was legal. I don't do it anymore. It's been a long time since I did it. But let me tell you something right now. It's like putting poison in your body. Don't do it. Plus, it gave me one hell of a case of PMS. And even the silhouette girl knows that she doesn't want that. You know what I mean? You know.
So they make you real irritable.
It's terrible. Yeah. Right now, I'm cool, calm, and relaxed. Aha!
Okay.
Okay.
Wrestling is spreading all over the world.
All right. So, Macho Man Randy Savage, his name emits macho, machismo, the essence of masculinity, right? But what he said was, and I'll quote him, "I've soared with the eagles, I've slithered with the snakes, and I've been everywhere in between. But it's okay for a macho man to cry." Now, I wish I saw this interview when I was a kid, because it might have saved me a world of hurt. Well, not really, but of course I've cried, but I never cried in front of other people. And even when by myself, I fought the urge to do so because I considered it a weakness. Now, what I will tell you now is, if it's appropriate, I don't mind crying. I'm who I am already. I'm established as a man. I don't need any validation from other people of my masculinity. I'm at the age now where I'm fine with who I am. If there's anything that I need improvement on, I will seek to grow. But as far as the finished product is concerned, I'm quite happy with it. You know, if I need a polish, if I need to change a few, shocks and struts on the thing, sure, that's different. But the vehicle itself that I'm driving, I'm quite proud of it. This 1977, whatever I am, I'm very proud of it. So with that being said, one of the things that this is, emotions can weigh you down to the point where a lot of people look at you and they could tell you've been through stuff. Now, I'm 48 going on 49. I've been through things. I don't look like I'm 22 anymore, right? Shoot, at 22, I look like I was 12. But, well, more like 15. But in all honesty, there's gray hair in my face. There's gray hair in my head. I've lived a life. But I don't look 49. I know that. I mean, the gray hair makes me look 49, but if I were to actually dye my beard and all that stuff, I won't look 49. I know that. But that is because over time, expressing that anger instead of holding on to it, or expressing anger to emote pain, I released my emotions. Even though it's in a fit of rage, I still learned that I don't hold my emotions in, because it ages you. It genuinely ages you, right? But in this stage of my life, in this era of my life, I will not run away from the real emotion that I'm feeling. My wife will tell you, There were times where she would not eat properly. And when I say eat properly, I'm talking about in terms of her health, not in terms of, oh, she ate and I'm just neurotic about eating food, because that's not healthy either. But if there's a goal in mind that she set for herself, that she wanted, and she didn't accomplish it, I would get angry. But over time, I've learned to express the actual emotion. It is not rage that I'm really feeling. It's frustration, concern, fear. I get to express that to her rather than yell at the top of my lungs about how I'm angry. Why didn't you do X, Y, and Z? And I'm not talking about cooking and cleaning and all that stupid stuff. My wife will tell you, anytime that I've genuinely been angry has been about her. Not her as in she did something wrong, like it's her fault, because that's also not true. It is of concern for her and her well-being. Seriously. Her and her well-being is the majority of my quote-unquote anger. But I have learned over time to express that anger appropriately. It's not anger, it's fear. Then I've learned how to paint the picture of what I'm experiencing instead, as opposed to just looking like animal, right? I've learned to show you what it feels like to be me. It's a good skill to have. It gains and garners empathy, and you might even get more compliance with what it is that you want when people get to see things from your eyes. If you can paint the picture without necessarily being offensive, try to avoid it as much as possible. But if it can't be avoided, say what you feel. But if you could paint the picture of what you're experiencing, and you can make the other person feel what it is that you're experiencing, it is best practice to do that than to just fly off the handle and flip tables. This is the reason why a lot of people are performing school shootings. This is part of the reason why there's a lot of drive-by shootings. This is the reason why there's a lot of violence in the streets, because people lack the capacity to express the emotion that they're feeling without coming off as soft, and they fail to paint the picture that the individual that they're dealing with can see, so that they can appreciate where they're coming from. Is violence necessary sometimes? Yes. I'll answer that definitively with a yes. But what I will also say is, not every situation requires violence. Violence is very necessary when appropriate. And who deems it appropriate, Mr. Stoutt? Common sense deems it appropriate. In defense of yourself, in defense of others, is when violence is appropriate. Then and only then. Period. Point blank. If you're not defending yourself and you're not defending others, physically defending others, not defending them verbally, but if you're not physically defending others and or yourself, you shouldn't be violent. But I'm going to land this plane because I've been on here for over an hour now. And I want you guys to appreciate not just my journey as a person, but I want you to see what is possible for not only me, but for yourself. You have a unique responsibility as a man, if you're a man watching, or as a woman, if you're a woman watching. You have a unique responsibility to the people around you to not only command and garner respect, but to also express the emotions in such a way that you can command compliance with your wishes in a healthy, responsible, matter-of-fact way. If you got to resort to rage and violence in order to get your point across, you're actually more weaker than you realize. And if after expressing your emotions in a healthy way, people don't comply with what you're asking, people don't, acquiesce to your needs, let them go. They obviously don't respect you, so therefore, guess what? Your presence is no longer needed. If you're not of respect, your presence is no longer needed. This is why you get fired. Because they don't respect you. They just don't. And they're not going to respect you. So guess what? Either you part ways or they part ways. Which one? Doesn't matter which, but it needs to happen. If you are no longer commanding respect in your marriage, leave. Or they're going to leave you. For sure. Sometimes the respect doesn't come until you're gone, but guess what? Too late. But that doesn't warrant you the fact of burning their house down, stalking them, breaking their headlights, slashing their tires, spray painting their property. None of that garners respect. Makes you feel better for a moment, but it doesn't really garner respect. And as a matter of fact, it's probably going to create more problems for you than it does solve. So why not just cry? Why not? You don't have to cry in front of them because it might boost their ego. Whichever narcissistic individual that might be. But to actually sit down and have that cry, why not? When I had conversation with my father after being estranged for 27 years, mind you, there were tears. Didn't say I flat out bawled, but there were tears. Not only from me, but from him. As a result, there's more respect between us now than there ever has been. Forgiveness is one thing. I haven't forgotten what life was like. But forgiveness is not for him, it was for me. I know it's cliche, but it's very true. But I want you guys to understand that holding on to anger and not genuinely crying, not genuinely expressing the real emotion that you're feeling, not being, if you are emotionally unintelligent enough to identify the emotion, then I suggest you pick up a book and read. But if you are emotionally intelligent enough to identify what you're feeling, you owe it to yourself to actually feel the feeling instead of transmorphing it into rage. Because it doesn't help when you're just angry and self-destructive, or in fact, just merely destructive. You owe it to yourself so that you can be the best you. Guys, that's my time. I appreciate you all. If you're watching right now, go ahead and give me a like, but don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Have a nice day. Be the best you. Class is Stoutt.